Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Program is Focal Point Network, the American Family Radio Talk Network, AFR Talk. Jeff, let's grab soundbite A8. This is President Obama. So now we have a Democrat weighing in against Ted Cruz. So Ted Cruz is the leader of the Rebel Alliance. And the empire is striking back. Here's President Obama, the commander of the Death Star.
What you've had is an unprecedented effort in which those who have opposed the idea of universal health care in the first place and have fought this thing tooth and nail through Congress and through the courts and so forth, have been trying to scare and discourage people from getting a good deal. And some of you may have seen some of the commercials out there that are a little wacky. And the main message we have, and we're using social media, we're talking to churches, we're talking to various civic groups, and what we're saying to people is, look, just go to the website yourself. Go to healthcare.gov, take a look at whether this is a good deal or not. Make your own decision about whether this is good for you. Because what we are confident about is that when people look and see that they can get high-quality, affordable health care for less than their cell phone bill, they're going to sign up.
Now, that's just simply not true. He's trying to say this is a great deal. This is terrific. You got, by the way, the Health and Human Services watchdog. This is a guy that's watching over Health and Human Services. He cannot say that this thing is going to work. This is freebeacon.com. The Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services has not assessed whether Obamacare will be ready to roll out on October 1. A spokesman for the Inspector General said on Tuesday. He hasn't even checked to see if it's going to be ready. Ladies and gentlemen, we're a week away from this. The Inspector General, he's the watchdog. He hasn't even looked at it. He cannot tell us that it's going to even work. The Inspector General's office has not done in-depth inspections of specific parts of the law, the spokesman said. Whether the Affordable Care Act will be able to be up and fully functional on October 1 is not something we have done assessments of. These are the people that are in charge of it. We have no idea if this thing is going to work. Do you realize the spectacular collapse that we're going to hit a week from now? White said resource limitations, budgetary constraints prevent the office from examining the entirety of the law. We certainly cannot do it all ourselves with the resources that are available to us. Catch this one. Asked about the data hub, which will transmit sensitive personal information from several federal agencies, including the IRS, including Social Security Administration, and which has been a central focus of those worried about the security of the law's infrastructure. White said the Office of the Inspector General had not tested it. We haven't done a verification. So they don't even know if any of the information is going to be secure or not. They got no idea. Haven't even done a test, and this thing is supposed to roll out on our next week. Now, let's also hear from the bridge of the Death Star. We've heard from President Obama, the commander of the Death Star. Here is Karl Rove, who is, I don't know, whatever the junior officer is on the bridge of the Death Star is, but Karl Rove is that. Here is the Empire striking back. Clip 6, Rob. This is clip 6. This is Karl Rove, the Empire striking back against the leader of the Rebel Alliance.
His fellow senators don't know where he's coming from. Sunday morning, as I'm sitting in the green room waiting for Fox News Sunday to begin, I get a call from a senator whom I don't know too well, who said to me, do you know what he's going to say? Because I don't. I'm a senator, and I have no idea what his end game is. I'm going to be watching this morning in order to figure out what he thinks we should do next.
Let me stick up for Cruz, though. Let me stick up for him. But I do have two pieces of research I have to get out to you pretty fast because they're interesting. Cruz wants to be the leader of the Republican Party, and he doesn't like the way it's being run. He thinks it is far too liberal, and it's not in your face enough, not confrontational. So he's breaking away from the consensus middle to stake out his own area that he's going to be the leader.
Totally agree.
He wants to be president. He wants to re-energize the Tea Party movement. Right. He wants people to coalesce around his view of the country. There's nothing wrong with that. So why would the mainstream Republicans or the less conservative Republicans attack him? Just debate him, win the debate. That's what it's all about.
Well, you know, that's the point, is there needs to be a debate. He doesn't go to the Thursday morning meetings and say, guys and gals, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Let's debate this and see if there's a good course of action.
He wants to break away.
I know, but so he should not be surprised. We should not be surprised if their response is, we're not going to be dictated to by somebody who doesn't even bother to tell us what he's going to do and when he's going to do it until after he's made up his mind.
I just love this. Karl Rove is absolutely beside himself. He has no leverage over Ted Cruz. He has no influence over Ted Cruz. He cannot restrain Ted Cruz for one reason. Ted Cruz does not care what Karl Rove thinks. Ted Cruz does not care what President Obama thinks. Ted Cruz does not care what Mitch McConnell thinks. Ted Cruz does not care what John Bozeman thinks. He does not care what the elites in the GOP think. The only thing that matters to him is doing the right thing about Obamacare. Now, here's Ted Cruz, clip 4, Rob, talking about the fact that this is what's happened so far. He could not, he's our Elijah, but he's saying, look, I couldn't have done this if grassroots Americans weren't behind what I'm trying to do here. Let's listen.
You can't stop it. This is unstoppable. And what happened again? The American people got involved by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, calling their senators, emailing their senators, speaking out at town halls, saying, defend the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. We want the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens protected. And I remember on the floor of this Senate, when it came for a vote, every single proposal of the president's that would have undermined the Second Amendment was voted down on the floor of this Senate. That astonished observers. They said it was impossible. It was impossible until the American people engaged. As we discussed not too long ago with Syria, the President advocated, said he was going to engage in a unilateral military strike within days. It was imminent. It was happening. And there was bipartisan support from leadership of both houses of Congress. And all those same pundits, Mr. President, if you're noticing a pattern here, there is a pattern here. These same pundits over and over again say whatever President Obama says, that's inevitable, can't be stopped, nothing we can do about it, nothing to see here, move on. And first, the President quite rightly listened to bipartisan calls to submit that decision to the constitutional authority of Congress. And I was quick to praise him for doing so. And second, even more difficult, the President showed the wisdom, the prudence, to listen to the voice of the American people when the American people spoke out overwhelmingly and said, we don't want to be involved in a sectarian civil war in Syria, when we don't have a dog in the fight, when the rebels...
So that is Ted Cruz saying, look, the American people rose up to defeat gun control. The American people rose up to defeat his effort to take us to war in Syria. So when the American people rise up, when the people lead, the leaders will follow. That is the lesson here. When the people lead, the leaders will follow. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Crystal in Shreveport. Crystal, welcome to Focal Point. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
You asked a question if I was bothered by it, what Ted Cruz was doing and how he was not being a team player. I would say absolutely not. Ted Cruz actually has stood up for what he believes in and for what his constituents are asking him to do. What bothers me are the lawmakers that are getting phone calls from their constituents that said that we're going to go with this, and now have changed their mind, are backing out because it's not popular amongst their other lawmakers. That bothers me. I want to remind everyone that we didn't get to vote on Obamacare. It did not come to the American people. We voted for these lawmakers. We call them and we tell them we don't like this, we don't want this, and they won't stand up for us. They should not get to keep their job. I mean, that is the thing. If the American people had got to vote for Obamacare, you and I both know that it would have never passed. We would have never had it.
Yeah, and Ted Cruz made that point. Look, he said to the senators, if you take this back home and you ask your constituents, do you want us to vote for or against Obamacare? He said it wouldn't even be 60-40. The overwhelming majority of your citizens would say vote against this monstrosity. Don't do anything to enable this thing to go forward. All right, Crystal, listen. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
And that's Democrats and Republicans. You know, it's both sides of the issue. The people don't want Obamacare.
Yeah.
That's the thing. No one is listening to the American people, and that just means we've got to talk louder and not let them keep their jobs.
Yeah. All right. Very good, Crystal. I appreciate that. In fact,
you.
Speaking of people keeping their jobs, Lindsey Graham, only 31% of Republicans in South Carolina are going to vote for Lindsey Graham. He's liable to be term limited by his own liberalism. So Lindsey Graham about ready to get his exit visa from Republicans in South Carolina. Let's go to John in Independence, Kansas. John, welcome to Focal Point. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
Concerning these school teachers, they're all union, and we as taxpayers pay for their the cost. How much is the taxes going to raise when we got to pay for all this extra Obamacare for all the teachers that's in the United States?
Yeah, well, that's that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but you bring up an interesting subject, John, and I'll finish this on the other side of the break. Talking about the impact on premiums from Obamacare. The Department of Health and Human Services released a chart today talking about the rates, full of glowing statements about how the rates aren't going up as much as they expected. I want to give you the full details on that. But let me give you one example, and I appreciate the call, John. Thank you for that. What we do know is insurance premiums and costs are going to go up through the roof. Here's one from the Washington Examiner about the state of Tennessee. This is research done by Senator Lamar Alexander, which, by the way, is nowhere to be found with Ted Cruz. He's not anywhere near Ted Cruz, doesn't want to be seen anywhere in the same zip code with Ted Cruz. But he released his analysis of what's going to happen in the state of Tennessee, studying the White House report. And this is what Lamar Alexander found, that Obamacare will cost far more than what many of his constituents are paying today, some by as much as 190%. For example, a 27-year-old man in Memphis can buy a plan today for $41 a month. On the exchange, the lowest state average that he can get is $119 a month. That's a 190% increase for a 27-year-old male in Memphis. Good luck with that.